Eerie coincidences envelop the events surrounding the assassinations of Presidents Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846, failed to win the vice presidential nomination in 1856, and was elected as president in 1860. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946, failed to win the vice presidential nomination in 1956, and was elected as president in 1960. Lincoln had two sons named Robert and Edward. Edward died young while Robert lived on. Kennedy had two brothers named Robert and Edward as well. Robert died young while Edward lived on. Lincoln defeated Stephen Douglas, who was born in 1813. Kennedy defeated Richard Nixon, born in 1913. Lincoln's vice president was Andrew Johnson, who served in the House of Representatives in 1847 and was born in 1808. Kennedy's vice president was Lyndon Johnson, who served in the House of Representatives in 1947 and was born in 1908. Lincoln was the friend of an Illinois Democrat named Adlai Stevenson, who became the vice president under Grover Cleveland. Kennedy was also the friend of an Illinois Democrat named Adlai Stevenson, who would twice run for the U.S. presidency. Stevenson's maternal great-grandfather, Jesse Fell, served as Abraham Lincoln's campaign manager in 1858. Lincoln had a friend and advisor named William Graham, an Illinois schoolteacher. Kennedy had a friend and spiritual advisor named William Billy Graham, the evangelist. On the day Lincoln was assassinated, he was wearing clothes from Brooks Brothers. On the day Kennedy was assassinated, he was also wearing clothes from Brooks Brothers. John Wilkes Booth, born in 1839, a Southern extremist. Lee Harvey Oswald, born in 1939, a Southern extremist as well. In October of 1860, Booth accidentally shot himself when the pistol he was cleaning discharged, striking him in the thigh. In October 1957, Oswald accidentally shot himself when a pistol fell from his locker to the floor and discharged, striking him in the arm. In 1862, Booth was arrested in St. Louis for making anti-government remarks. In 1963, Oswald was arrested in New Orleans for disturbing the peace while distributing anti-government literature. Booth committed his crime at his place of employment, Ford's Theater. Oswald committed his crime at his place of employment, a Texas school book depository. Lincoln was killed on a Friday before a holiday, Good Friday before Easter. Kennedy was killed on a Friday before a holiday, Thanksgiving. Lincoln was sitting beside his wife, who held his head in her lap after he was shot. Kennedy was sitting beside his wife, who held his head in her lap after he was shot. Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater. Kennedy was shot in a Lincoln made by Ford. Days before it happened, Lincoln told his wife and friends about a dream he'd had of being shot by an assassin. Hours before it happened, Kennedy told his wife and friends it would be easy for an assassin to shoot him from a crowd. General Henry Rathbone accompanied the Lincolns that night with his fiancée. He was stabbed in the arm while trying to subdue Booth. Texas Governor John Connally and his wife accompanied the Kennedys that day. He was injured in the arm, shot by a bullet that had exited Kennedy's body. The evening of Lincoln's assassination, the telegraph system mysteriously shut down. The day of Kennedy's assassination, the telephone systems in Washington, D.C. mysteriously shut down. Shortly after the funeral, Lincoln's surviving family moved to Georgetown at 3014 North Street. Shortly after Kennedy's funeral, his surviving family moved to Georgetown to 3017 North Street. Both presidents died at places with the initials P.H. Lincoln at the Peterson House across the street from the theater. Kennedy at Parkland Hospital. Booth was shot and killed while in custody before going to trial. Oswald was shot and killed while in custody, also before going to trial. Andrew Johnson and Lyndon Johnson, the vice presidents, both have 13 letters in their name. John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald both have 15 letters. Connally and Rathbone, 8 letters. Jefferson Davis was the President of the Confederacy. Jefferson Davis, or J.D. Tippit, was a police officer Oswald shot and killed shortly after the assassination. His nickname was JFK for the resemblance between himself and the President. Hours before his death, Lincoln signed the order authorizing the creation of the Secret Service. Months before Lincoln died in it, Booth slept in the same bed when he fell asleep while visiting a fellow actor who was staying there. The first doctor to see Kennedy at Parkland Hospital had delivered Oswald's second daughter a month before. Jackie Kennedy insisted her husband's funeral closely mirrored that of Lincoln's. The 20-year cycle, or Curse of Tippecanoe, began with Lincoln and ended with Kennedy. Every president elected in a year ending with 0 died while in office for over 100 years, till Ronald Reagan survived John Hinckley's attempt to kill him to impress and to win the love of actress Jodie Foster. Edwin Booth, John Wilkes' brother, had previously saved the life of Robert Lincoln, the son of President Lincoln, on a train platform in New Jersey. Robert slipped and would have fallen in front of an oncoming train had Booth not grabbed him. Robert was present at the assassination of 2 other presidents. As James Garfield's Secretary of War, he was present when he was shot and killed by Charles Guiteau. At William McKinley's request, Robert was also at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo when Leon Czolgosz killed the president. Robert Lincoln is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, just feet from where Kennedy's eternal flame burns. Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln. Her husband's name? Abraham. Another Abraham, Zapruder, is who shot the infamous footage of the Kennedy assassination. Is this all just one coincidence after another? You decide.